This inexpensive U3 V30 equivalent SD card can record 4K 60, so why bother with anything else? Because like an airbrushed Instagram model, that was only half of the truth. You see, the A7 Mark IV has various bit rates, and you especially need faster cards for all intra, specifically a V90 UHS-2 card. Do read the labels when purchasing these cards and visually check them if you can. The UHS-2 cards have a lot more pins, and it should say V90 right on the card. If you don't need all intra and okay with lesser formats, you can definitely settle with V30 cards up until the point that you start doing photography. So in this video, I'll show you how the camera behaves with different media, starting with the slower U3 card. I'll be comparing the buffer using two of the exact cards on the A7 Mark III versus the A7 Mark IV. Spoiler alert, the A7 Mark III has a larger buffer, and yes, I've taken the larger file sizes of the A7 IV into account. Both cameras will be using compressed lossy RAW, the default setting, and I'll post the results of lossless at the end of the video. Your choice of memory card can mean being there and ready for the moment, carpe diem, or being stuck with whatever's left over, like dating in your 40s. Before we get started, be sure to like this video right down there, subscribe if you haven't already. With the formalities out of the way, let's get started. We'll start off by using a UHS-1 U3 card, 128 gigabytes. It's similar to V30. However, it's technically not even V30. Before we get started, I'm going to show you the buffer level, this line right here and here. You can get to that in the menu. It's called continuous shoot length on the A7 III. On the A7 Mark IV, it's remain shoot display, always display. Okay, we're going to get started right now. As you can see, the buffer on the A7 III is a lot deeper. However, it takes a lot longer to recover. That's because this buffer is a lot more shallow. Okay, now we're gonna see how it would be like in a real world scenario. Say we're following the action on screen. So you could be following the action and you're already hitting the buffer. It's just really hard to recover. You can see it's really hard to recover. So if I'm shooting right here, I'm pretty much toast. Next up are UHS-2 V60 rated cards by Lexar. And I've heard they have spotty reputations, kind of like my ex after a few drinks. However, they've been pretty good for me, and I haven't had a problem at all on the Sony A7 Mark IV. All right. As you can see, that felt like it lasted a lot longer. Let's see how it would perform if you're following action. So by the end of the play, it did run down, and if I were to shoot like the reactions and the faces, I might have missed out on some of it, but otherwise it did seem pretty good. These are UHS-2 V90 cards and the fastest cards you can use on the A7 Mark III. All right, let's get started first with the full shootout. Obviously, this card looks like it recovered very fast, and even when it was depleted, it was double shooting, and it felt like it was shooting even faster even though it depleted. All right, let's see how it handles this action. Yeah, so you can see neither of the cameras have a problem with the buffer. It does recover quite fast. Now it's time for the fastest card, CF Express Type A, and this goes in the right way, unlike those other cards. And as you can see, the buffer is just not really affected by this card. You can shoot indefinitely. Now let's take a look at the video recording modes and what you can do with these uber inexpensive cards. That's a U3 below a V3. So we have 4K 60 at 200 megabits per second. And there you go, it is recording. It's not a problem. I do want to warn you that if you're using this U3 card, it's not officially a V30. So there's no guarantee that it can maintain that speed. It can drop and you may lose your footage if you're using these types of cards. So I suggest you get a minimum of V30. It has to say V30 on the card. And they do come in micro SD if you're looking for that. We're going to double check just to make sure that it works in XAVC-S as well. And it does. So that's 4K 60p 200 megabits 422 10-bit. Okay, now we're going to try the all intra modes. And it tells you right here, even in 1080p all intra, you need a V90 card. As long as you're using the all intra, it's not going to work for recording. Let's try S&Q. Because we're still on all intra, it's not going to work, but there's this one other thing with S&Q. If you go to 4K 60, even HS, let's try 4K 60 there, it's not going to work as well. You need a V60 card at minimum to record. So it's just one of this odd quirk that 4K 60 works in the regular standard mode with audio, but in S&Q it does not work. So switching to the V60 card, and what previously did not work 4K in S&Q works now. So when you're using a V60 card, everything works except for all intra. These two settings down here do not work with 4K 60. You'll still need a V90 card for those. With the V90 card, we are going to use all intra S&Q 600 megabits per second 4K 60 422 10-bit. And there you go. That is the highest setting you can do on this camera. And the V90 gets you there. So what did we learn today? Well, the buffer can be a hidden cost for some of the users buying into the A7 Mark IV. It's definitely a step backwards compared to many of the other advancements. If you don't care for the massive all-intra files and you don't shoot particularly fast action, save some money, get the V30 cards. And these particular ones I got only cost $40 for the pair. If you do like the occasional fast action, then you might consider V60 cards. The pair I have is 256 gigabytes each, and it costs a total of $120, quite reasonable. High action and or high bitrate users, V90 cards are there for you, unless you need every single option in S&Q, or if you're doing high action and lossless uncompressed RAW. I would not recommend CF Express Type A cards. Wait, it's just one card. This camera only supports one. It's expensive, the capacity is low, and it doesn't get you that far. Pretty much like gasoline these days. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video and that wasn't a total waste of time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.